make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?
Arrow straight through my heart.
Coming up on Arirang News. Search and rescue operations are underway with the number of casualties expected to rise from the torrential rain that swept South Korea. More than a dozen of the hardest hit regions have been designated as special disaster zones to send more funds for recovery. North Korea launches 2 short-range ballistic missiles this morning. This following a first South Korea-U.S. joint nuclear consultative group meeting held in Seoul yesterday. South Korea's minimum wage for next year has been set at 9,861 per hour, up 2.5% from this year. The decision comes after a flurry of negotiations, but fails to satisfy both the labor and business sides. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We start with the fallout from the recent heavy rain here in Korea. Search and rescue operations are underway along with recovery efforts. But unfortunately, the number of casualties is expected to rise, with more bodies being found and some still missing. Kim Mo-kyun has the latest.
Days of heavy monsoon rains took the lives of at least 46 people in South Korea. Data from the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters on Wednesday show that southern regions, especially Gyeongsang-buk-do province, had the biggest number of deaths with 24, followed by Chungcheongbuk-do with 17. 35 others have been injured, with 4 people still missing. Nearly 17,000 people across the nation have been forced to evacuate from their homes, with some 8,000 still unable to return. More than 1,000 public facilities have been damaged, with over 900 private facilities being flooded and disfigured. The downpour also affected crops, with over 32,000 hectares of farmland being flooded, killing some 800,000 livestock. On Wednesday, the body of one man in his 70s who went missing on Saturday was found in Yecheon-gun County, Gyeongsang-buk-do province. A private from the 1st Marine Division's Artillery Battalion who was helping out with search operations in the area was reportedly swept away by a rapid stream on the same day. Search operations are ongoing in Yecheon-gun County, an area that has been one of the regions hit hardest. As of 6 p.m., heavy rain advisories have all been lifted across South Korea, with steaming conditions returning to most parts. Some regions are seeing heat wave advisories instead. But the weather agency advises the public to continue to be aware of the changing weather conditions, as the monsoon rain hasn't come to an end. Heavy rainfall is expected to return from the weekend, affecting the capital area and the nearby Gangwon-do region until early next week. Kim Mo-kyun, Arirang News.
More than a dozen regions nationwide have been designated as special disaster zones, now eligible to receive state funds for recovery from the serious rain damage. Kim Jung-sil reports.
On Wednesday morning, the government designated 13 regions as special disaster zones. The 13 include central Sejong, Cheongju, and Mungyang cities, as well as Yecheon-gun County in Gyeongsang-buk-do province. The designations were made even before the completion of an overall investigation into the scale of the damage suffered. An official at the Safety Ministry told Arirang News the reason behind the swift decision.
First, the government has a strong determination to take responsibility for restoration in the affected regions. Second, it hopes that with the designations, more people will be aware of the aftermath and thus volunteer to help those in the affected regions. These are some of the reasons that the government decided to respond preemptively.
The Director General added that members of a special response team have been dispatched to 17 cities and provinces to help prevent further human casualties from the torrential rain and conduct investigations. The members will check on emergency repairs to roads, walls, and riverbanks, and will also assess damages and conduct further on-site analysis. With the designation, the special disaster zones can now receive state funds to pay for restoration work and repairs. Up to 80% of the costs will be paid for by the central government. Not only that, but also varied financial help will be offered to individuals, including tax relief and discounts on medical insurance fees and utility bills, among others.
For things that can be repaired quickly, we hope to finish the work within the year. And for those that will take longer to fix, like bridges, for example, we hope to complete their restoration by the end of 2025.
For the areas that haven't been designated special disaster zones yet, due to the continued rain and flooding hampering damage assessments, the government plans to conduct fact-finding as soon as possible and will make additional designations as necessary. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
North Korea fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles this morning. It's seen as an apparent protest against the arrival of a U.S. nuclear missile submarine to South Korea and the allies' strengthening deterrence against Pyongyang. Our Defense Ministry correspondent Choi Min-jung reports.
North Korea fires 2 short-range ballistic missiles in a display of discontent over Seoul and Washington's strengthening deterrence capabilities against Pyongyang. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff on Wednesday morning spotted that North Korea had launched 2 SRBMs, one at 3:30 a.m. and the other at 3:46 toward the EC from the Sunan area. The JCS confirmed that both flew around 550 kilometers before landing in the EC. Experts believe that they are presumed to be the North's Iskander-type SRBMs, known as the KN-23.
The North Korean version of Iskander is a ballistic missile, but is known to have excellent accuracy as well as considerable precision and speed.
And given the flight distance, it seems highly likely that it was a retaliation against Tuesday's arrival of a U.S. nuclear-capable submarine in South Korea's port city of Busan.
If you rotate the flight direction southward while keeping the same distance of 550 kilometers, the missiles would reach Busan. North Korea is demonstrating that it could use its tactical nuclear weapons to target the southern port.
Experts also say the possibility of the regime strengthening its military provocations in the future is very high.
Ahead of the upcoming Korean War Armistice anniversary on July 27th, the regime must show its people not only its economic achievements, but military achievements as well.
Following the launch, the presidential office held a meeting led by the second Deputy National Security Advisor to monitor the security situation. The JCS also strongly urged the regime to end its provocations.
We strongly condemn North Korea's successive ballistic missile launches, as they are serious provocations that harm peace and stability on the Korean peninsula, as well as internationally, and are in clear violation of UN Security Council resolutions.
The regime's latest missile launch is also widely anticipated to be a response to Seoul and Washington's first nuclear consultative group meeting held on Tuesday. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
President Yoon Suk-yeol went to Busan to see the visiting U.S. nuclear missile submarine, USS Kentucky. During his visit on Wednesday, he said its deployment shows the commitment by the ROK-US alliance to extended deterrence of North Korea's nuclear program.
이를 통해 북한이 핵 도발을 꿈꿀 수 없게 하고 만일 북한이 도발한다면 정권의 종말로 이어질 것임을 분명히 경고했습니다.
This is the first time in 41 years for an SSBN to be docked on the shores of South Korea, and it follows an inaugural meeting for the two countries' nuclear consultative group the day before. President Yoon took the opportunity to show his support for the troops of both South Korea and the U.S. and took a close look at the submarine. According to the top office, this is the first time a South Korean president boarded an SSBN and said it shows the level the alliance is at currently. A U.S. national who crossed the demarcation line into North Korea yesterday has been confirmed to be an American service member fleeing before being sent back home to face military discipline. The Pentagon has reached out to its North Korean counterparts. Bae-eun-ji explains.
An American soldier stationed in South Korea fled across the inter-Korean border into North Korea on Tuesday, while on a group tour of the joint security area located along the demilitarized zone that separates the two Koreas. The U.S. Army has identified the soldier as Private Second Class Travis King. The 23-year-old who joined the military in January 2021 had been reportedly held on assault charges and was released on July 10th. Media reports say his rank of private second class after more than 2 years of service suggests he may have been held back for disciplinary issues or for failing to meet standards. This is because promotion to private first class is automatic after 12 months. In fact, at the time, he was reportedly being sent back to the U.S. to face disciplinary action. King somehow appears to have slipped out of Incheon Airport and managed to join a civilian tour to the joint security area in the border village of Panmunjom, a tourist attraction that's located just 50 kilometers from Seoul and about 160 kilometers from North Korea's capital, Pyongyang. NK News reports that a woman on the same tour as King later posted on social media that the soldier laughed just before ditching the group and running in between some buildings to cross the border. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on Tuesday confirmed that the U.S. soldier willfully crossed the border and said the Pentagon's main concern is for the soldier's welfare.
Yeah, what I can confirm, and I would say up front that we're very early in this event, and so there's a lot that we're still trying to learn. But what we do know is that one of our service members who was on a tour willfully and without authorization crossed the military demarcation line.
According to the U.S. State Department, the Pentagon has reached out to its North Korean counterparts for information. And the White House also confirmed the soldier is believed to be detained in North Korea, which makes King the first known American detained in the North in nearly 5 years.
And we believe the soldier is currently in DPRK custody and are working with our North Korean counterparts to resolve this incident.
The incident comes at a sensitive time amid high tensions on the Korean peninsula, with a U.S. nuclear-armed ballistic missile submarine now in South Korea for a rare visit, in an apparent warning to North Korea over its recent provocations. But North Korea remains silent. Experts say it's likely that North Korea may use the soldier for propaganda purposes in the short term, and then as a bargaining chip in the long term. 배은지, Arirang News.
In order to boost cooperation in economic security, South Korea, the United States, and Japan on Tuesday in Washington held trilateral dialogue on the very topic. According to the presidential office, high-level officials exchanged ideas for cooperation on economic, technological, and energy security and discussed ways to bolster supply chain resilience. This round builds on from the first in February as leaders aim to, quote, create a more robust and innovative foundation for economic growth and technological advancement. Speaking at a finance meeting with a group of 20, Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho has stressed for the need to stabilize inflation. His office revealed on Wednesday that Chu presented the effectiveness of minimizing government expenditure and introducing tariff rate quotas on key food products to limit inflation, reflected in the on-year consumer price growth falling to 2.7% in June. He also revealed Seoul's intention to play a leading role in bolstering supply chains through global economic cooperation such as the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. The two-day G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting from Monday discussed the prioritization of curbing inflation, stabilizing the supply chain, and threats posed by climate change. The Asian Development Bank has slashed its outlook for South Korea's economic growth this year to 1.3%. In its report released on Wednesday, the ADB revised down its projection from its April forecast of 1.5%. One of the main reasons is the slump in the country's outbound shipments, which has been dropping on year for 9 months in a row. The bank also raised Korea's inflation outlook for this year to 3.5%, but noted that if it cools down sooner than expected, it'll help raise economic growth. Meanwhile, the bank maintained its average growth outlook for 46 developing Asian countries in 2023 at 4.8%. South Korea's minimum wage for next year has been set at 9,861 per hour, up 2.5% from this year. The decision comes after a flurry of negotiations, but fails to satisfy both the labor and business sides. Moon Hae-ryun with more.
The minimum wage for 2024 has finally been set at 9,860 Korean won per hour. That's roughly $7.80, and an increase of 2.5% from this year. The decision was made early Wednesday morning by the Minimum Wage Commission after a record 110 days of negotiations. The point of contention was deciding between the different rates proposed by the representatives of the labor and business sides of the commission, with those advocating for workers initially suggesting a jump to above 12,000 won and the business side proposing a freeze. The final vote followed fierce debate with a hike to 10,000 won proposed by the labor side against a figure of 9,861. And despite speculation about whether the country's minimum wage might surpass the 10,000 won mark for the first time in history, the rate was set at 9,861 with 17 of the 26 votes in favor. Once the commission submits the result to the Ministry of Employment and Labor, the new minimum wage will be finalized by August 5th. As many as 3 million people are expected to be affected by the change, which will take effect on the first day of 2024. The head of the Federation of the Korean Trade Union spoke out against the final decision, saying that the minimum wage increase did not meet the rates of inflation and would therefore be of little benefit to low-wage workers. The 2.5% rise is the smallest annual rise in the minimum wage in 2 years, with increases of around 5% agreed in both 2021 and 2022 for the following years. It's also one of 3 occasions since 2007 that an annual rise has not met the 3% mark. However, the business representatives argue that a freeze was necessary to support small businesses that are struggling with the economic slowdown, and that an increased minimum wage would result in job losses. While it's possible for both sides to request a re-evaluation of the decision by the Commission, with the Minister of Labor's approval, this has never happened previously. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Tensions are intensifying between Russia and Ukraine as Russia launched a massive air attack on the Ukrainian port city of Odesa for the second night in a row. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia launched more than 60 missiles and drones in the overnight attack, of which 37 had been shut down. Wednesday's attack was mainly focused on infrastructure and military facilities and is a retaliation over Monday's blast on the Kerch Strait Bridge connecting Crimea and Russia. The bridge, a strategically important link to supply Russian forces in southern Ukraine, was damaged in an apparent Ukrainian attack by naval drones. Meanwhile, Ukraine has claimed responsibility for a fire that broke out Wednesday at a Russian military training area in annexed Crimea. Calling the operation successful, Ukraine says Russia is hiding the extent of the damage. The large blaze triggered evacuations and cut off traffic along a highway that leads to a key bridge connecting the annexed peninsula to mainland Russia. K-pop girl group NewJeans has reached a new high on US Billboard Hot 100, climbing to 66 with their new single, Super Shy. The song came out on July 7th and is a pre-release title track from the group's second mini-album, Get Up, that's set to drop this Friday. As of last Thursday, Super Shy has reached 9.2 million official streams in the US. It's the third NewJeans song to land on the Billboard Hot 100 after Oh My God, which reached 74, and Ditto, which made it into 82. On the football field, South Korean player Minje is moving to Germany's Bayern Munich from Italy's Napoli. Bayern Munich paid a transfer fee of $56.1 million to sign the 26-year-old defender, the highest ever paid for an Asian footballer. The 5-year deal will also see him paid an annual salary of $13.4 million. Kim secured the Serie A title with Napoli last season, during which he was also named the league's top defender. Kim joins a Bayern team that has won the last 11 Bundesliga titles. These days, robots do many things, showing potential for use in disaster settings. Here's the one that looks like a walking dog, which was recently developed by a team of researchers at KAIST. It can navigate diverse environments without relying on visual cues. Shin Se-byung has this story.
A dog-shaped quadrupedal walking robot is climbing stairs. Things can get slippery, but the robot doesn't falter. It can also regain its balance quickly after unexpected knocks.
Introducing Dreamwalker, the robot named after its key technology, Dreamwalk. Just as people are able to navigate to the bathroom in the dark after waking up at night, Dreamwalker has also no need for visual cues.
Using just two sensors, joint and inertial, the Dreamwalker, developed by a KAIST research team, can go anywhere. Once it encounters new obstacles, it can quickly plan an optimal path using its past experience, which enables it to adapt to new environments. To achieve this capability, the Dreamwalker has undergone reinforcement learning with approximately 1,000 robots going through a variety of simulations. As soon as it touches the ground, the robot determines what kind of terrain it is on based on its previously learned environments. The whole process takes place in 1,000th of a second. This skill is comparable to a person being able to navigate something like a stairway based on their past experiences. Another thing that sets Dreamwalker apart is its semi-autonomous operation, unlike other quadrupedal robots that typically require full manual control.
It's like semi-autonomous. If human cannot intervene, for example, when there's a problem with the communication, there's a delay, or like we cannot know the precise location of the robot can just localize its own self and then finish the mission.
In June this year, the team won first place at the Quadruped Robot Challenge after competing against 10 teams, including MIT and Carnegie Mellon University. In the future, Dreamwalker's unique features could be used in many situations, especially in dangerous settings.
We are planning to enhance the technology for various everyday applications, specifically in industries. We envision using it for tasks such as inspecting high places or monitoring the management of hazardous gas leaks in plants.
The research team also said they hope the robot could be utilized for missions in disaster areas such as for collapsed buildings, fires, and more, while ensuring safety and efficiency. Shin Se-byung, Arirang News, Daejeon.
A high-pressure system will take over across South Korea tomorrow, bringing sweltering temperatures again. Most regions will see highs of over 30 degrees Celsius. For Seoul, daytime temperatures will be reaching 33 degrees, but conditions will feel close to 35 due to high moisture levels. Extreme heat can lead to heat-related illnesses such as dehydration and fatigue. Drink plenty of water and try to stay indoors. Strong UV rays will make a return along with the sweltering heat. While entire nation will see UV ray index in the high to very high range, extreme conditions are forecast for Jeollado and Gyeongsang-do provinces. Morning temperatures in Seoul will be starting off at 24 degrees tomorrow. Maximum temperatures will be rising significantly nationwide. Seoul and Chuncheon will get up to 33, Daejeon and Gwangju 32, Busan will be reaching 29 degrees. For this weekend, another round of monsoon rain is in the forecast. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all for tonight's newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with the latest news tomorrow. Good night.
I'm live.
저를 도와주시는 분들이
저희와 함께 해줄 수 있는 세션 분들
아무리 봐도 없지. 텐션 같은데 아니라고 아무도 안 하는 거고.